Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third day of the 2021 Prajna 16-day campaign against gender violence. As many of you know, poetry has been an integral part of our campaign calendar from the very beginning. And it seems as if we are destined to try new formats all the time while keeping the essence of the art with us. So we've done in-person poetry readings for years. We've done poetry workshops. We did videos last year, and this year we have our first digital reading. And it's also very special because we're partnering with Mockingbirds, and Michelle and James, who is now famous in Chennai as one of the founders of Mockingbirds, is extremely famous in Prajnya as being one of our people. She actually came to Prajnya first in a workshop, a writing workshop. She's been part of our activities for, I have to say now, 10 years. And each year we find out new talents that she hid from us in preceding years. So I'm extremely proud to hand this event over to her to run, and extremely delighted to have the four young poets with us who are going to be reading, one of whom is another Prajnya veteran. Vasanthi was part of our peace education poetry call a few years ago, and also part of Four Good Words last year. So this is a gathering of old friends and new. And I'll say quickly that the reason that the arts matter so much to us at Prajnya is because they allow us to find ways to express the inexpressible. They allow us ways to cope with the things we are trying to live with every day. And they enable us to gain easy access into each other's hearts, which is where the campaign against gender violence really begins. So over to you, Michelle, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much for being so generous with your words. It means a lot to me. She's been my mentor from when I was in college. And for those, I know that we have our Mockingbirds patrons also here. So I just want to talk a little bit about ma'am, though, and Prajnya, because a lot of people somehow does not know a lot about Prajnya and the work that they do. They do from things from sensitizing nurses on medically assisting women who have been sexually abused and raped, to providing legal support to women who don't have access to legal support. So there is a variety of work they do. It's grassroots level. It is with the cream of the society. It is with academics. It's a lot of things. And everything culminates together in the 16 days campaign. And Mockingbirds is absolutely proud to be a part of the campaign. For me, this is a full circle, starting with Prajnya 16 days campaign in 2009, their poetry workshop, to actually curating a poetry event for them. So this is really wonderful for me. And I found
this is your second curation with us.
Yes,
you did Zero Apologies.
Oh yeah, I did. But as Mockingbird, something I founded with something I was a part of. So this is amazing. And I'll tell you, this is a funny tidbit I tell people, but I found ma'am. Actually, I just went to Google while doing my master's, feminists in Chennai. That was how I Googled, and I found ma'am's bio, and it was pages and pages, the amount of work she did. So I was like, okay, there's no way she's going to respond to me through mail, but she did, and I'm so glad, and here we are. So today, as Mockingbirds, we have curated 4 amazing female powerful voices for you. And I just want to warn you that it's going to be triggering. There are going to be subjects going to touch upon rape, sexual abuse, violence. So that is what this is about. It's called It's Not Okay. And you might not be okay while hearing these. So take heart. That's why we're warning you. But I hope you find some healing. I hope you find something to take away from this. We're so glad. I know it's happening online. It's raining outside. If it was a live event, it would have been canceled. I also want to request you, if it was a live event, as in an in-person event, your faces would have been visible. And in a spoken word performance or a poetry performance, your faces are important. The audience is a part. So if at all, if it's possible, if you can switch on your cameras, it'll be wonderful. But I understand, you know, internet and power and all of that. So that's about it. I'm gonna let us start. We have 4 poets here: Aarthi Ashokkumar, Hima Mouli, Aaliyah Banu, and Vasanthi. And that's the order we will go. After each of the performance, each poets are performing a set. So after each of that, I will probably open it up for a couple of seconds for you to share. Please do share. If not, you can share it in the chat. Or one of the things that we do in an in-person event for a spoken word performance is snap your fingers. So if you have your cameras on, you can snap your fingers. That is something, anything that they are speaking, specific verses that you find you connect with, you can do that, or you have the reaction button. Awesome. So I'm gonna, are we highlighting the poets? Spotlighting, sorry.
Yes, I will as,
yeah, awesome.
As they come in.
Yeah, so we are over to Aarthi. So Aarthi sent me a very short bio. Aarthi is pursuing a post-graduation in music, and she's a mother of 2 and a very skilled writer. And just so proud to present her to you. Over to you, Aarthi.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Very generous words from you. So I'll just go straight away to my piece. It's called From Inside the Box. Okay. Years of practicing has helped me package my thoughts better with bubble wraps and shiny pink papers which glitter like the sun and tear like the skin. And with a quintessential smile, I have learned to package my thoughts. I have loaded my words with buckets of butter and mashed rice and sweet curd that does not go sour even in anger. And they so smoothly just slip into your throat and soothe your gut. I masquerade my words in front of people, in front of ordinary ones who spread wide apart their limbs, leaving little room for squeaky ones like me, in front of respectable ones who hide dark secrets, even in front of close ones who take me in their arms and squeeze me out of breath, out of sense, and out of self. I have learned to converse like the perfect coffee that I bring to your bedside, which I carefully heat up to 20 seconds in the microwave, because the last time it was slightly hotter and burnt your lips. Your indignation fell on me like red welts on my skin, like the ones on the squirrel touched by the Ayodhya prince. I hid it like a shameful tattoo. I carried it like a talisman for that one day to help me keep sane and to keep me burning from within. But soon sleep beckoned along with the fear of loneliness and the curse of convenience, and turned smoothly into another day with a warm bath for you in the morning, with tame words that did not make you flinch. I wanted to say, mix the food yourself, but I swallowed the leftovers of the sounds. They stayed suspended in my bile, indigestible. No, my gut speaks from far away. Be brave, speak up, break ceilings, blah, blah, blah. Words like bold, independent. Words like woman. Oh, no, not woman. People do not get the word woman. It doesn't sit well with them. They say, how about mother? Isn't that a much better word? Mother? Someone who can wash the black goo off the edges of the sink clean, someone who can prepare the children, someone who can prop up ailing elders, someone who can bang out mouth-watering dishes along with droplets of sweat sizzling over the paratha pan, someone who carefully dresses her worries with tadka while her voice melts within the curries, and we can hold on to her feet which is tied at the pedestal, keeping her forever frozen, forever divine, forever divine. We can use words like a daughter, duty, marriage, a mouthful of vocabulary is actually allowed. Adjusting, compromising, multitasking, cheerful, soft, patient, sweet, mild, tender, fragile, ladylike, graceful, poised, such brilliantly placed words. No, thorns over a golden crown. These thorns dig into my brain like worms eating me from the inside out. I find myself wrapped tightly within the box of the good girl, the crown of the mother, the wife. I struggle to break free from the cocoon of roles, like a daughter, like sister, like mother, like a wife, and just to be a woman. I have been knocking around the box for weak points my whole life. I did not know. I didn't need to be boxed. I did not know how many parts I have lost, like my stomach, which was lost on the back tires of a tempo traveler, worrying about my son, about you, about your nausea, your back pain. I left my stomach behind at every bump when I forgot to care for myself, and it lost the skill to absorb energy. I left my powerful opinions behind the guilt of being proper, and now they shrill like crickets hiding behind trees, lurking, waiting. I have been trained to be invisible. I have been left to be consumed. Nature is taking over. Nature, the great leveler. My arms have been eaten up by 2 bunches of red hibiscus. My toes have turned into large ants, tottering away in search of dried nectar. My hands have swung into the breeze with my many-veined flat green palms, rustling away like paper. My eyes have grown wings, and pupils have transformed into beaks of a hummingbird, buzzing into deep cups of carmine flesh. But you cannot see this happening. Your world is squared and sliced to fit into laptop bags. For you, I'm tucked into one of the sections between the physical files and the charging cords. You feel that my view is complete. You feel that my world is in your grasp, but I'm divided, dispersing, I'm rotting, liquefied, seeping through the floor into the soil, sowing the seeds of my sisters. They creep into the cement, the iron, the bricks, into your mind, crushing into the roots of your patriarchal citadels. Diamonds roll out of the eye sockets of empty skulls. The brittle bones shatter and give way to earth's dusted wings, blooming, 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 ravaging your imbalance from the inside out. Thank you.
A moment to take that in. Thank you so much, Aarthi. Yes, you can see the comments. So before
Thank you, Michelle.
I've had the pleasure of watching all of them before we had a mock run. So I loved how she spoke the entire piece without having mentioned the word man. That's a skill. That is what poetry is about. It talks about the unobvious. So thanks everybody who were commenting. I loved how she traversed through so many imageries of nature, of the domestication of women, of, and coming back to nature. It was such a beautiful, like the imageries are so distinct. These are not usually images that come into your head, but it's beautiful. Thank you so much, Aarthi, for starting off with such a powerful piece.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Yeah. I'm so happy. I can see it. I'm happy. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Anyone, if you guys want to open up, I'm just going to give a moment to a few of you if you want to share anything. You can unmute and share. I think everybody is speechless.
There was someone who mentioned how they loved it and hated it. I think it's quite true, because loved it as in this, it's there, right? Hated it because it's there. So yeah, an amazing piece, Aarthi.
Thank you.
I wanted to say that as she started, I was posting the FB Live link on Twitter. And the tweet that, Twitter keeps telling you tweets that you should read, actually is an Indian Express headline from the NFHS survey that came out yesterday. 52% women surveyed believed it was reasonable for a husband to beat his wife. It was almost as if there was some sort of stage backdrop to Aarthi's powerful poem when I read these words and was listening to her at the same time. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks, everybody. So 3 more voices to go. Next, we have Hima. Hima, you there? Yes. Hima is our youngest performer. She's doing her bachelor's in English from Stella. She says she goes by many labels: daughter, dreamer, literature student, writer, nerd, but the one that has always stuck with me, that describes me best of all, is this: story seeker. We are all the amalgamation of the stories we make and the stories that make us. And I intend to figure out life one story at a time. So by that bio itself, you see that 3-line bio was a story in itself. Hima is a storyteller, so I'm not going to give away a lot, but I'm going to let Hima take over. She has a powerful voice, so brace yourselves. Over to you, Hima.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Michelle, for that amazing opening. So, yeah, when you talk about gender violence and its effects on society and its effects on women in particular, right? There is so much to be said for the horrors that happen every day, and the worst things that when you hear it, you can't bring yourself to be surprised because we hear about it so often and sometimes it gets numbing. But even worse is the way it happens in silent ways around us, right? It's not always the extreme cases and the violent cases, but also in the way it happens, there are subtle signs of it all around us. And I think in a lot of ways we miss those signs, which is why it's so easy, it gets so easy for society to ignore that there's a huge problem here. So yeah, the first piece is a piece called When They Call Me Pretty. So hope you enjoy. When they call me pretty. Reactions. 1. The thank you sits in my mouth like bitter medicine I've been told to take for so long. My tongue is numb to it now. I'm still teaching myself to swallow it back down instead of letting it slip out. It's almost funny how the forced politeness comes out easier than the discomfort crawling on my skin, because labels are not the same as compliments. No matter how softly you press them into our hands, I shouldn't have to be grateful that the attention isn't unkind, even if it is unsolicited. 2. This word pretty is a physical presence, almost as palpable as their gaze in the way it stretches itself, hangs limply over my identity. It feels something like the deer skin on an uncle's living room floor, something beautiful, killed and hollowed out until it is soft and empty enough to be likable. And I fear that will be me someday. 3. I know what this world does to pretty things. I've seen the bird cages and the flower bouquets. I've seen the butterfly displays. They like to keep the pretty things, make them smaller and smaller until what they are hardly means anything to the hands that grasp them. And isn't that the way they expect us to fit into the frames they say were made for us? Sit inside the ornate walls and smile, frozen smiles. Don't complain about how this glass suffocates. 4. I know how the word pretty comes with chains and locks and the cold absence of freedom that they try to tell us means safety. Pretty things they seek to possess, because what they fear are the things with claws and the things with teeth, The things that would rather bite than be carved, would rather let you bleed and have themselves be bled. 5. So no, I don't want to be your fluttering butterfly. Instead, make me the ugly moth enamored with the flame of ambition so much that it burns. I don't want to be the pure soft flower your fingers itch to pluck, unsatisfied till you watch it wither and wilt in your palm. I want to be the thorn that warns you of the consequences of wandering hands. I don't want to be the moon you write empty verses to and send your rockets to pierce your flags on. Let me be the sun instead. Let me shine so bright that their eyes won't look twice. I've lost count now. And I know that just being is no longer an option here. I know that respect is a long game, but for now, I'll settle for not being afraid. So if they won't simply let me be, then let me be the claw. Let me be the teeth. Let me be, if anything, fierce. Yeah, that's my first piece. So yeah, I'll give you guys a second there.
It was amazing, Hima. Loved it.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. So my next piece for today is, again, it's not about the subtleties around us, but rather remembering that at the same time, we carry the legacy of the women before us on our shoulders. Like when we tread, we carry their legacy. We are their legacy. And it reminds us that we have a duty to the ones who come after, that we can't leave them with the world as it is, because this is a battle we can't afford to lose, right? There's a poem by Rupi Kaur that goes, how do I make this mountain bigger so that the women after me can see farther? And I think that line really resonates with me. So that inspired me to write this poem, and I hope you enjoy this one too. It's called, Shall I Tell You My Story? Now, before we begin, I'm going to ask you not to judge me, because this story is incomplete. A draft in the making, a verse still running. I only tell you what I have so far. So where shall we begin? Shall we begin in a sterile white room filled with the shrieks of a newborn? Or shall I begin in a 4th grade classroom when the first bloom of creativity revealed itself to a young girl, pressed a bleeding pen into her hand and whispered words into her mind? Shall I begin in the pages of the first book I ever read? Or perhaps amidst the faces of the first poem I ever shared? Truth is, I could start this story from any of these places and all of these places, and it wouldn't really be wrong. But a starting isn't the same as a beginning, and not wrong isn't the same as right. My story begins with a girl whose family locked away her books at 13 and told her she didn't need them anymore. Instead, they shoved bangles down her hands and the tali around her neck, her vermilion pottu on her forehead applied from the mixture of the kumkumam on her parting and the tears on her cheeks. At 18, they signed her life into the hands of a stranger. She will learn survival through trial by fire. She will learn to keep her chin up against sharp tongues. She will learn to keep her feet moving through empty pockets and emptier stomachs. She will have a daughter, and then she will have a son, and the son's daughter will come before you to tell this story. My story begins with a woman, young and beautiful and widowed, who cannot let herself fall to tears because she has children she has to smile for, barely out of her 20s, but carrying the weight of 3 mouths to feed and the roof of a household on her back. She will face a society that will pity her and objectify her in the same breath, Humiliation and harassment will come knocking at her door and seat themselves in her life like unwelcome guests. But she will come through it. She will come through it, and she will tell her story to her sister's granddaughter, who will write verses out of it and come to tell you today. My story begins with a maiden who lived her life by the lines already drawn for her, who loved dance so much she taught herself where the eyes of society could not see her, who loved playing out in the sun but had to leave because sports weren't ladylike, because ladylike meant desirable, and anything that wasn't desirable wasn't meant to be her, even though it was. She lived a life without complaints, or so she tells me. But she also lived a life without passion. But instead she will teach her daughter about strength. Strength, the quiet, enduring kind, not like the bodybuilders, men on TV. She will teach her about the kind of strength that comes out when the elderly crones come to try to bless her daughter with a prosperous future marriage. She will stand and demand another blessing. She will teach her daughter resistance, not like a fire that burns and consumes, but like a tree that refuses to yield in the face of a storm. Resistance like the words her daughter will string to tell you today about her story. My story has many beginnings. Not all of those beginnings start with me. My story begins again and again and again with all of those who came before me, in the stories they passed down to me, in the way they fill me with their words so I will never go quiet like they did. My story is incomplete, is a draft in the making, is a story, is a verse still running. Half of my story are still dreams, but these dreams are not just my own. They are the unspoken words of my grandmother, the unshed tears of my great aunt, the unrealized passion of my mother, the untold sacrifices that run in my blood and live in the freedom of my voice. What I have so far is an incomplete story. What I have so far is just a promise not to waste it.
Hima, I think you have all of us in tears.
Thank you very much. Seriously, thank you so much, Prajnya, for giving us this opportunity, for doing all that they do, and this campaign for gender violence, this message that is so important for people to hear and talk about. And I'm glad I could be part of it.
Thank you so much, Hima. I think I welled up a little. I had to take a moment. That was amazing how you just threw us all into your story, and it was our story, and it was just one big monologue of all our narratives put together. Thank you so much. Truly, I think one of the things about story or scripting is that it needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a climax, and you just brought it all in. It was truly like watching you on stage in a monologue, and if you can do that through a Zoom, I think that is, I don't know how many goosebumps I got. I know I have to wait. We were two more poets. So thank you, Hima. That was, I think people have commented some of the lines, like I just loved demanding another blessing. Like it was so vivid, the imageries.
It's a true story.
Yeah.
I remember she said, give her another blessing. And I think that was probably, if I had to point a moment when I became a feminist, or when someone taught me how to be a feminist, that would be it. My mother, who had never spoken back to an elder, like kind of taught me, to be respectful. She just stood up and she said, no, like that's not done. I give her another blessing.
Wow. Amazing. And the fact that half of my dreams are not mine. I was just thinking of my mother and my grandmother. Suddenly, I was just welling up. Thank you. Thanks for everyone for commenting. I know it was powerful. Thank you, Hima. Awesome. Next, again, brace yourself. We have Aaliyah, another very young poet who is a master's student of English literature, again from Stella. She's 21 and she holds great fascination for sunsets, stars, cats, and sometimes people. She loves long talks about life and everything other than that. Finds solace in writing and performing poetry, is a great actor, especially when it comes to convincing her mother. She thinks kindness is the only thing that will save the world, but also hopes to save people through her poetry, even if it is one person and even if that one person is herself. Beautiful. Aaliyah, we all need some saving this morning. So I hope you do that. Over to you, Aaliyah. Thank you. I mean, Aaliyah, while I was judging the spoken word in Stella, and I was floored. I was absolutely floored. So, hey,
thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Before I begin, I think I might get a little emotional after listening to how Hima performed. I'm trying to bring myself out of that. But it was an amazing poem, even both poems. So I'll start with mine. I have 3 pieces today. Some of them in some of the poems I have mentioned rape, abuse, harassment. So trigger warnings for that. So I'll just start. Mother doesn't cower when Baba raises his hand to slap her. We are all made this way, she says, and women are crafted to bend because we cannot break. So many questions cloud my mind, but I do not know how to ask because I have been hushed too often, too many times. My voice snatched away from me before I could make it mine. Perhaps I have never been this quiet because I remember the remarks my teachers left on my report card. Very talkative. Is a bright child, but talks too much. And so many other things that slipped from my memory. Baba tells me that I should learn to wash vessels because that is what will help me for the rest of my life. My aunt asks my mother if she's taught me how to cook, that if the rotis I make are as round as the moon on a full moon's night. I cannot help but think how they are shaped like different countries on the globe that are kept hidden in my almari. The last time I stood up to answer a question, the boy behind me whistled and everyone else giggled. I turned to look at him and he shrugged at me, as if it was a joke, as if it was supposed to be funny, as if I was supposed to laugh too. The teacher didn't say anything other than, boys will be boys. I had forgotten why I was standing there anyway. The men in my life tell me I'll only be this much, that in a couple of years, I need to be married off and given away as if I were a piece of property, always belonging to someone, shifting from one owner to the next, as though this is my purpose in life. My mother mentions how I won't be her responsibility anymore. I have been taught not to question, only to accept as it came. But there is a storm raging inside of me. I do not know when it will strike. But when it does, it will spare no one, because that is how storms are, right? They do not wait for things to get out of their way, but destroy everything in their path. And I think I am no different, though I do not speak just yet. That was one piece. The next one, again, trigger warnings for the mention of rape, sexual harassment, abuse. I haven't been raped before. So I'm lucky. For how long, I do not know. I haven't been raped, but I automatically seem to increase my pace when a guy I saw 2 streets away is still behind me somehow. Maybe he is my neighbor, but I haven't seen him before. I haven't been raped, but I dread holding my gaze at a man who stands behind a woman who's sitting on the only seat that is available. I wonder what he's searching down there, his lost dignity, I suppose. Men think dignity comes from what is between their legs. I hope that that is not what their mothers thought while giving birth to them. I haven't been raped, but I forget to breathe when I'm stuck on a lift alone with a man I do not know. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe he's as scared as I am. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Well, rapist isn't the word used for men alone. Correction, not all men, since men seem to be obsessed with that phrase. I haven't been raped, but I have been touched inappropriately by mistake by more than just one man, and I am not the only one they've touched that way. Does that make me sound jealous? Because I was not their only one. It makes me feel disgusted, dirty even. You see, I haven't said anything new that some woman somewhere hasn't said already. This isn't a poem about potential rapists or male rapists or female rapists alone. This is another poem with the same words, just differently ordered. A poem you'll hear and feel terrible and decide to forget it later, like all the people who spoke about how they were mishandled because they were surrounded by sex-craving beasts pretending to be normal humans. I haven't been raped, but I'm afraid I might be, afraid I will be. For a country that gives itself the feminine gender with over 100 goddesses, I think unsafe is something no woman should feel. I haven't been raped, not yet at least, but unsafe is exactly how I feel. That was another poem.
I think we all need a minute to just, can we go off camera to cry for a bit and then come back?
Sure.
We've always had this way of capturing our experience, just making us, I think I've told you this before, you have a way of when you perform, it's like someone just reaches in, grabs your heart out and then like brings it out and just holds it in their hand. Yeah.
Thank you, Hima, for that. Thank you very much. I have one last piece. It is titled That Woman. You think I am that woman who is bad at driving and can kill people because she just doesn't know how brakes work. That woman who says she knows how to cook and gives you the recipe for Maggie. That woman who is a gold digger. That woman who is angry all the time, so it makes you think, is it that time of the month? Every day. That woman who got promoted because, well, she stayed in the boss's office and got invited for dinner. That woman who shows too much and that woman who doesn't show enough. That woman who wears too much makeup. That woman who asked for it and then accused some innocent man for raping her. Not all men. I know how the saying goes. Do you know why you say it though? Not all men, but I am like every other woman. Every other woman who doesn't bend to your wishes, like every other woman who turns out just like your ex. Always crying, always clingy, always wanting to do what she wants, always so damn ambitious. Perhaps I am that woman. Perhaps my driving is bad because the women of my mother's generation and her mother's generation were never allowed to drive. Perhaps I'm bad at cooking because, like you, I'm sitting and playing video games instead of learning how to cook. For a man, I do not know, because food is the way to a man's heart after sex, of course. Perhaps I sound angry all the time because if I was kind, then you'd call it flirting. Perhaps I show too much and show too less because I wear what I want to. Perhaps that promotion was nights of working hard till the sun came up. Perhaps I got raped not because I asked for it, but because you didn't know how to behave, because you have never known what no meant. Because you told yourself, I am a man and she is that woman who would shut up and not make a scene about it. And no, I am not that woman. And no, I will not shut up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaliyah. It was definitely drop the freaking mic. Yes, Hima. It was like that. Thank you so much, Aaliyah. That was powerful delivery. The thing is, you made us giggle a lot. It was light and yet so heavy in what you spoke. And that is the craft of a poet and a writer, because what you did, especially your second and third piece, was use irony. Irony is something we use in poetry, and not everybody is used. Irony is not just something that bad stand-up comics use, but it's actually a device in poetry. And you executed it so well. Especially the second one, we'll talk about taking up space in public. It might seem, not so big, but it's a very, very important thing. I've had people experience on a daily basis abuse, and they don't even know if you should call it abuse, exploitation. We don't know what label we should put, but it's made a deep impact. So thank you, Aaliyah. You really was very clever performance and powerful. I mean, all the comments here, I loved Sudha ma'am's comment on your second piece, I think. I have to go through it. It's a lot. You can check it out. I don't know where I saw it.
Sure.
Outstanding performance, sense of always being on the precipice. Really beautiful, lovely delivery. This is your second piece.
Thank you.
That's exactly our sense of always being on the precipice. So thank you.
I just wanted to say this thing about how people associate gender violence or any form of violence only when they see it. There's a proof of it. But then it's always, there's someone who's always violating your mental peace, your whole self, and then people just don't think that's there because they don't see bruises and scars. And even if they do, it's always, oh, maybe it's not like that. Maybe it's how easily invalidated people are made to feel. So I'm really glad I got this opportunity to be here, and I hope I did what I could, my best, to give justice to this opportunity that I've been given. And thank you so much. And yeah.
Thank you, Aaliyah. That's so true. It's always mostly on the shadows, the violence, living in the shadows. So thank you you did a phenomenal job. Thank you, Aaliyah.
Thank you.
Yes, we have one more to go, and yeah, I don't know what we're going to do with Vasanthi. I'm scared. So Vasanthi, I know a lot of you might know her already. She writes under the Dreamer's Destination. You'd have seen her posts, her pieces, right? Long ones, short ones. Thank you, Padu. Thank you. So Vasanthi finds magic in the presence of poetry and has been pursuing this craft for more than 8 years now. Vasanthi has performed in several shows and mostly enjoys capturing feminist perspectives and human behavior around hope, healing, and love. So Vasanthi is an experienced poet, and I'm so excited. Over to you, Vasanthi.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks to everybody for letting us perform. After these, I think 3 performers, I might as well say I have 3 poems that all spell thank you and just leave. But I do have 3 pieces today, and I'm overwhelmed and I am speechless, as everybody has been with all the 3 performers before me. And I'm going to begin. My first poem is called Bravery. Bravery is an overpriced perfume resting on moon-tinted shelves at luxury stores. It smells like roses you pluck without consent. You pull it out at your own convenience and turn it into a magic wand and point it towards women who never wanted to be brave, who just wanted to live and breathe and walk and dance and laugh and speak and learn and think and wear whatever the hell they wanted to without feeling like walking in bodies with inbuilt sirens that are too awake in the deepest of sleep, worrying that you will point your magic wand, cover the filth with fragrance, and either call them brave or tell them that it was their fault that they were sleeping. For you to assume that the truth lies in other places than in the mouths of women who tell is because you know too well that there isn't another place, that there isn't another truth. And that is your deepest fear, that you turn into denial and turn into our bravery. That was my first piece. The second piece that I will be performing is called The Vocabulary of Dowry. It's a prose poetry piece. The Vocabulary of Dowry. The groom's parents say, we expect nothing. Please do whatever you want to, but we expect nothing. They also mean, give her whatever you want to, but nothing is not a respectable option. The brides say, we love our daughter. We will do everything in our capacity. They also mean, how do we send our daughter empty-handed? You would not respect us. What would the society think of us? The grooms say, of course, whatever you like. We understand how much you love your daughter. They also mean, we appreciate you. That is a wise choice. Nothing is never a respectable option. We will pat ourselves for our magnanimity and broad-mindedness later. The groom adds, I don't believe in any of this. It's just our parents, you know. They're from a different generation. He also means, I don't have a problem with this. It's just a tradition, you see. The diamond, the gold, the apartment, the cars, the vessels, the furnitures, everything gets on stage to get married. But now you tell me, where does the bride sit? So that was my second piece. And in a second, I'm going to go to my last piece. It's called Invisible. Home is purple, the color of a peaceful war. Home is a good observer, both of his words that are filled with love and of his silence that shimmers with hatred. Home is the only place that feels like home for everybody else within, feels like doors that I can step out of. Home has walls that are thicker. My memory of his flaws safely packed in between. Home has two hearts. One of his passive aggression, which is also called, it's okay. And one of my silence, which is also called, it's not okay. Home knows he never stays. I know too. Home tells me I'm right, but he tells me I'm wrong. He asks me, who do you believe? Me or yourself? Home has nowhere to look and I have nowhere to go. Home would make an excellent murderer. It erases all traces of pain when friends visit. Home is an illusion and he, a magician. Home accepts that it's an illusion, but he tells me he's just another man in love with his wife. Home paints the mirror with his laughter so that I can practice the terror after. Home is often wet with saline water. For how many times would it step into the sea to wash away all the blood that nobody can see? How many times would it let the fishes eat away the wounds that nobody think hurts? Home now knows too well that shooting and blood isn't the only kind of violence. For it also has to do with the definitions of kindness. For you cannot crawl a knife into your pocket every time you hug me and want me to believe that it's love. Home has begun to echo as my marriage has begun to empty. Home might not catch me if I fall, but he'll hold me as I turn invisible. Home does not remember me anymore, but neither do I. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Vasanthi. Thank you, Vasanthi. That was so skilled and that was so deep. I loved it. About, I know, it was about displacement. It's about feeling wonderful, Vasanthi. I loved, I mean, a lot of people have already read your dowry piece. I know that was ma'am especially requested it, but that's another phenomenal piece. And again, I think Vasanthi's skill that I've always noticed is that she uses imagery that device so well, so unique, and she builds it wonderfully, like literally paints a picture. It's called, always has a closure, or if it's not resolved, it still has a closure. Like, I don't know how she does that. Like all her pieces, it's like one single circle. And that's a wonderful skill, Vasanthi. Thank you. And I know how hard you work at your craft. You come prepared. Every live performance I've seen. Also, if you have not had a chance to catch these all these poets live, and especially Vasanthi does, she dances and performs poetry together. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to watch it, but next time she does that, please go catch her. Do that. It's too mesmerizing. She's a dancer, Bharatanatyam dancer as well. This was amazing. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being so kind to our poets and just commenting. Yeah, you can find all of their works online. Please go get in touch with them. I don't know what else to say. I'm lost